So good morning and welcome to the third annual Got Your Six Veterans event hosted by Oakland Community Health Network. My name is Emily Springer and I work with the communications team here at OCHN. Although this year's event looks very different than that in previous years and we aren't together in person, we're still thrilled that you joined us today and are looking forward to having a great time together. Today we'll hear from our Veterans Navigator, Chaka McDonald, Chuck Colby from the vocal group 3 Men and a Tenor, as well as present a deserving veteran with the Comrade of the Year award. We'll also be giving away $50 gift cards throughout the day, so please stick around. Before we get started, I'd like to mention a few items. Firstly, and unfortunately, General Robert Smith, who was slated to be our keynote speaker, had a family emergency out of state and will not be joining us today. He did pass along his regrets. Fortunately, though, Vietnam veteran and founder and CEO of the National Veteran Business Development Council, Mr. Keith King, has graciously stepped in. So thank you, Mr. King.
You're welcome.
Secondly, as this is a virtual event, I'd like to ask that you remain muted during the presentation portions of the event. You'll have a chance to ask questions after each of our speakers conclude their presentations. If you're on the computer and feel more comfortable typing your question in the chat box, please feel free to do so and someone will read your question. If you'd like to unmute yourself and ask a question, please use the raise hand feature, which you can find on the taskbar by hovering over your screen. If you're joining us on the phone, press *6 to mute and unmute yourself. Third, I'd also like to take a moment to mention the OCHN Annual Plan Needs Assessment. This assessment drives the framework of how the Oakland County Public Mental Health System dedicates our resources. We want to ensure we capture as many voices and viewpoints as possible and welcome your input. The needs assessment can be found on the OCHN website at www.oaklandchn.org under the Surveys tab. Okay, before we get right into the event, we're going to start out with a quick drawing, going to one of the lucky participants. So the winner of our first drawing is Diane Bevel. Congratulations, Diane. You will be sent an e-gift card. So as today's event is honoring elderly and aging veterans, we'd like to share a few facts. According to the U.S. Census Brief, veterans aged 65 or older number in excess of 12.4 million. These veterans served in conflicts around the world, including World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and even in the Persian Gulf War. We're going to share a few short videos which demonstrate the scenarios and situations that veterans and their family members might find themselves in today. The first video tells the story of an American widow who finds the closure she's been seeking for more than 40 years when her MIA Marine husband's identification tabs and wedding ring are recovered in Vietnam. And please let me know if you can't hear this video.
Something's been recovered. We verified the identification tags for authenticity. And I assume you can speak to the validity of the ring.
I knew the moment I saw it. We had it engraved on our first anniversary. With you forever. Was there anything else?
Ma'am, that's all the fisherman and his son found. But they did give us a location, which means the excavation team knows where to begin the search.
Bless their hearts.
Barbara, this is just a first step, but we're going to do everything we can to find him.
Bring him home. I'm with you, my love.
Forever.
Every time I watch that, I feel like I get something stuck in my eye, and they end up just watering and watering and watering. So what a powerful clip. At this time, I'd like to introduce OCHN's Veterans Navigator, Chaka McDonald. Chaka works to connect veterans and their families to available resources, and we'll learn much more about his role shortly. Please welcome Chaka McDonald.
All right. Thank you, Emily, and thank you to everyone that decided to join us today. As Emily stated, that was a very, very powerful clip right there, and I know many of our veterans, especially Vietnam era veterans, can identify and relate to that. I'm definitely proud today to introduce our keynote speaker, who I should mention once again stepped in at the last minute to be with us here today. Keith is, I mean, he's a pillar in the community, pillar in the veteran community, of course, the community at large. Been doing awesome work for our veterans and making businesses be aware of veterans that may have disabilities and just various arenas like that. So Keith King is a Vietnam veteran. He is among the first class of inductees to the Michigan Hall of Honor who received recognition for service to their country. Keith has served in many local and state and national leadership positions representing his fellow veterans. He is a recipient of the National Commendation Medal, which is Vietnam Veterans of America's highest award. As a business owner who operates an advertising and public relations firm in Detroit, Keith was inducted into the National Veterans Business Development Council in 2019. So I want everyone to please welcome Mr. Keith King.
Thank you, Chaka. I appreciate it. It's an honor for me to call Bob Smith a friend, and I got the call from you to ask to step in. It's always intimidating to follow Bob in a presentation, but I accepted this as an honor to Bob and to recognize him and his family as well. But thank you for the introduction. I got to tell you, that little clip, there's like nothing, like starting my Saturday with flashbacks. But, those of us who were in Vietnam can relate to that story very well. One of the things that I know that you were interested in and wanting me to address some of these issues is really kind of almost started, what is a veteran? I think what's happened over the years is that when you look at the relationship of our veterans to the VA in particular, and to the government in general, there's a lot of confusion. And the bottom line to me is were you ever on active duty? And active duty has a lot of different definitions, and I'm not going to spend much time into it. But what the point is this: the VA regulations, the VA rules, don't always match up with the Department of Defense rules, regulations, laws, statutory regulations, all of those things I deal with on a daily basis. Because here's a fact: about 20%, it's actually closer to 18%, of veterans even enroll or use the VA. Why? Well, I can tell you, as a Vietnam vet, we were not well received. In many ways, we were shunned. In many ways, the VA at that time had a very bad reputation for not only treating Vietnam vets or not treating us, but also a very poor medical reputation. Many of us felt that if you went into the VA, you may not come out. And the problem with that is that stigma, if you will, has lessened, but it has not dramatically changed depending on your age. One of the things that we, being the Vietnam vets, pushed very, very hard for the Iraq, Afghan, all the veterans who followed us is one, get a better quality of medical care at the VA and a different reception at the VA. And I know that they, being the VA now, have in fact tried very hard to at least give the Iraq and Afghan vets an easier portal, easier access, easier way of getting medical treatment and mental treatment. Simply did not exist for us in the Vietnam War. Of course, it didn't happen with World War II or the Korean veterans, as far as that is concerned. So what I think when I look at a term that we, and the collective we, about veterans and how we can help each other. It didn't matter if you were enlisted, it didn't matter if you were drafted. What matters is that you served. And I think when we talk about the expressions that's being used a lot today, which is thank you for your service. The first time somebody said that to me, it was kind of like, are you being, a smart aleck? Wasn't really sure how to react to that. Because I spent most of my first 10 years when coming home hiding my status as a veteran. I didn't tell anybody. I took off any and every relationship to the military, including on my resume. I worked at a business for 4 years before they even found out I was a vet. So the point is this: we as veterans have a bond among each other. And that's a bond that, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't matter when you served, where you served, what your color is or what your religion is. I have, for 40 plus years, tried to help my fellow veterans in any way that I could, in the sense of helping not only with their benefits, their VA benefits, but their social, their mental. I've done a lot of work in the PTSD. I've done a lot of work in trying to make sure that our fellow veterans understood that the one thing that we all are veterans. And I say that because one of the things that we keep running into is this dichotomy of young vets versus old vets. And that conversation has been driven primarily, as far as I'm concerned, through technology. There's kind of a joke. Every time I get a new phone, it's like, give it to my 13-year-old granddaughter. She can fix it. She can set it up. Well, that's pretty close to the truth. but we have some very sophisticated and very educated older veterans as well. And I think the young vets who could help the older vets in the sense of not only working with the technology, but simply reinforcing and honoring their service is a sign of honor because, like I said to a group of Iraqi vets, right now as a Vietnam vet, we're kind of like the old vets. But someday, and it won't be that long from now, the Iraqi vets are going to be the old vets. And I think it's one of these things where, excuse my voice, let me get a cup. One of the things that we can do, I hesitate to use the word wear your colors, but wear your hats, wear your t-shirts, wear your pride, wear your service. You'll be, I think, pleasantly surprised at not only the number of civilians who will respect you or say something to you about your military service, but among veterans. I happen to be wearing a Vietnam veterans hat last weekend. I don't know how old this gentleman was, but he called me a young man. And anybody calls me a young man, I like. You know, so when he was saying, "Hey, young man, how you doing? Thank you for your service," it was like, "Well, thank you, sir." But I think that that's the kind of camaraderie. I tell a story. I was in a restaurant here in the city of Detroit with a young lady. We were having breakfast, and there was a group of gentlemen sitting over in a group in a large table, and you could kind of overhear some of what they were saying, and it became clear to me anyways that these gentlemen were all veterans. They were older than me, but I turned to the young lady and I said to her, "Hey, I'll bet you a cup of coffee that if I go over there, they will invite me to sit down with them." And she said to me, "First off, it's the wrong war, you're the wrong color, they ain't never going to invite you." And I said, "Well," and she said, "Well, I'll change the bet. I'll buy breakfast if they do." And I walked over to the gentleman and I said, "Excuse me, I just do I understand that you gentlemen are all veterans?" And the guy who apparently was the leader looked up at me and said, "Yeah, what about it?" I said, "Well, I'm a Vietnam vet, just wanted to come over and thank you." One of the gentlemen said, "What'd you do?" I said, "I'm a gunner." He said, "Come on, join us." Pull in and open the chair. I mean, it was just that quick, guys and ladies. And the lady who was with me was just shaking her head, not believing it. And I said, that's the power of being a veteran. And I think that's a power that we all have. It's a power we should enjoy. It's a power we should use. Because the way that I look at this is that we served our country. We did what we were asked to do. We did it with honor, integrity, respect. And we ought to give that same respect to each other. So when I tie all this together for you is, again, the VA trying to pursue your benefits is and can be a pain. And I'm trying to be polite here. It is difficult and it can be excruciating. I've been doing this, as I said earlier, 40 years. I helped write and create a lot of the service officer program that's implemented by the Vietnam Veterans of America. So I have a long history writing and lobbying and doing legislative activities. And I got to tell you, my current case is now 11 years. I have been in front of the Federal Board of Benefit Appeals, the federal court, 3 times. Even the judge said this is one of the worst cases she's ever seen in the way that the VA handled my personal case, and threw it back to them and said, do it over. Well, it's still 11 years. You know, I still don't have an answer. So I freely admit that getting your benefits can be a hassle, but here's the thing that I want to leave you with. It can change your life. I will tell you that when I got my first 100% disability, and realized that my medical care, my prescriptions, the monthly check, all of those things coming in and all of the expenses that eliminated actually helped me to decide that I could in fact put my personal company on hiatus and dedicate the last 7 years of my life to creating and operating and running the National Veteran Business Development Council. I have the honor and privilege of having some very dedicated men and women who have joined me. My team makes me look good, but the truth is we have kicked open an entire opportunity for veterans who own a business. And that in and of itself is something that is a different idea, different concept. I'm not going to talk about it today, but what it does show is, again, the ability of our veterans to work together, to build something together and make that happen in a civilian space outside of the military, but at all times. What I call the respect of my fellow veteran brothers and sisters, that we can do this and we can make things happen. And at that, I'll just turn it over to questions.
So, wanted to say, and as Keith just stated, if anyone has any questions, if you're on the phone, you can do *6 to unmute yourself. If you're on the computer, you can feel free to type a question to the chat box or use the raise hand feature. All right, looks like we. Okay. It looks like we have a question for you, Keith. Keith, how can veteran business owners or entrepreneurs get more plugged in to NVBDC?
Well, thank you for that question. The easiest is, of course, start at our website, which is the NVBDC, for the military, November, Victor Bravo Delta Charlie.org, O-R-G. On the website, you will find certification information. It will take you through who we are, what we do. It'll take you through who our corporate members are. It'll give you a pretty good idea of what we do and how we do what we do. There is an email on the website said certification@nvbdc.org that will take you directly to my certification team, certification manager, and you can ask them any and all questions. I will tell you about getting plugged in. What has happened? And again, I can only credit the corporations themselves. I think I mentioned this to you, Shaka, but in March, when the virus hit and everything was going crazy, I really thought we being now, I'm talking about the NVBDC, was going to get hurt. And I was very concerned about basically having to shut down. The exact opposite happened. What literally happened, within a matter of a couple of days, we had 7 or 8 of our largest corporations write me personally and say, Keith, do you have any veterans who can make these products? And these products are all what we now call PPE, but all these medical products for the virus. And I went out into the marketplace saying, hey, if you're a veteran business, do you make any of this stuff? Well, that list was like 30 items long, and we exploded. I mean, I had corporations I've never talked to. I've had veterans showing up going, hey, I make these products. How do I get certified? How do I get plugged in? Well, here's what we do. It's very simple. Once you're certified, we not only share that information with our corporations, but then we begin inviting all of our veterans to participate in multiple events. One of the things that our corporations, I love these guys. What I love is that they will actually set up their own webinar. I just pushed out an email the other day about Walmart. If you're interested in talking to Walmart, I just put out an email to all of my certified veterans saying, Walmart wants to talk to you. Well, you know, when you start getting guys like Walmart and Amazon and Microsoft and Facebook and all these other organizations looking to hire veteran businesses, that's pretty good stuff. And last year, our corporation spent over $2 billion with our vets. And I keep telling myself that I'm the dumb one. I shut down my company, started a certification organization, and then people will call me and go, Keith, what did you do? Well, I ran an advertising, marketing, PR firm. Oh, well, we could use you. Yeah, well, where were you 7 years ago when, you know, nobody was hiring veteran businesses? So my joy is that I at least make sure that our veterans are at least at the table. Anything else?
It looks like Dave had his hand up. Dave Williams.
Hey, Keith, how you doing? Dave
I'm
Williams.
doing good. How are you? Been a while.
Long time no see.
You know it.
Okay, so my question is this. I know that they have the registration for the burn pits for, say, Iraqi, Afghanistan veterans.
Yes.
But what about those veterans who served, those older veterans who served, and what's available out there for them who, like I served in Korea, 82, 84. What's available, something liking onto the burn pit for those veterans there?
Two things specifically about Korea, Dave, is if you were at the DMZ, and I don't know where you were, but if you were and your orders can show that you were out posted at the DMZ, they've already recognized the DMZ as one of the areas where Agent Orange had been sprayed. So you may have some claims on toxic exposure, chemical exposure. Second to that is we just got approved some of the bases in Korea where Agent Orange was stored. And again, it was part of the legislation that we fought for with the burn pits and toxic exposures. So depending on where you were, I would take a look at that, take a look at your orders if you can get them, and see if it is connected to where we know the Agent Orange was. And if it is, then you can take a look at whatever your medical conditions are and see if they apply to Agent Orange. I wouldn't just give up on it. It may take some time, as I mentioned, but it probably would be at least worth exploring.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and it looks like we have another question. Jen Whelans from CapTel asked, does a directory of veteran-owned businesses exist, and how does she access that?
No. And there are, at least off the top of my head, 6, 7 organizations that have a listing of what they claim are veterans in business. And I use that word claim because this is something that I do, as I mentioned before, every day of my life now. Is we're working to fight the fraud. And let me give you an example. The VA program called CVE. I have all the reports, so you don't have to take my word for it. If you want, get a hold of me, and I'll send you the actual documents. But the congressional investigation of the VA program, the CVE program, Congress, the congressional report basically said that the VA is averaging somewhere around 1,400 ineligible contracts totaling $500 million a year in fraud. And then unless they change their procedures, it will continue for the next 5 years. So when I say about lists, the VA program in and of itself has anywhere from 13 to 15,000 veterans, supposed to be veterans in that database. In checking and going through those database, what we have heard is that less than 2,000 of us have ever gotten a contract. And I say us in that case, part of my background, as Jaka mentioned, is I spent 14 years doing federal contracting. And I did the federal contracting based on the original law that created veteran businesses in the federal statutes in 99. We actually wrote that law in 97. It took us 2 years to get it passed. So from 97 to 99, once the law got passed in 99, my guys in DC called me and said, hey, you're a veteran, you're a service disabled vet, you own a company, we want you to be our guinea pig, basically, and start contracting. I learned very quickly that's a really dirty business, and it's a really hard business, but it can be very profitable. And I understand why people would, in fact, lie and cheat to get into this game. But the point is this, is that I don't trust most of the lists. And when I say I don't trust them, is because there is not a verification or certification to back up people who are claiming to be veterans. Now, what I do is I certify veteran businesses. And I shouldn't say I should say we, my team. But our certification has a reputation. And it's kind of, I've had a guy walk up to me and he said, I got your certification. It's kind of like a red badge of courage. You guys are a bunch of hard asses. And it's like, yeah, because here's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to prove you're a vet. And secondly, you actually got to show up and run your company. The language we use is operational control and authority. What that really means is you have to be able to hire and fire people, write checks, sign checks. You got to be running your company. Because here's what happened. And thankfully, and again, I acknowledge them every chance I get. I was trained by the Michigan Minority Supplier Development Council and the Great Lakes Women Business Council on how to do certification. And I joke about, they took pity on me and said, yeah, come on, I'll teach you. I literally went in the streets with the ladies. I was in their certification hearings, their committees. I mean, I went through all this stuff to learn the business of certification. And then we realized the thing on top of it is we got to prove this guy and or woman is a veteran. And we take that to heart. So the answer to your question again is no. But in the sense of working with the other organizations and trying to help eliminate this fraud issue, that is an ongoing effort. And I'm about to launch an effort to work with the major veteran organizations, or frankly, the other military organizations, hopefully for them to join with us to help address this issue of fraud. It is something that I look at as a veteran, and people think I might be a little too hard on it, but to me it's like we got people stealing from real veterans. Think about that, $500 million. If I had to give them that $500 million going to real veterans, what the impact of their society, impact on their family, impact on their business would be. And can you imagine the impact of that in the community? So yeah, I get a little touchy about that. Sorry.
Thank you, definitely, Keith. Thank you. We have another question for you by Bruce. He said he's a SDVOB certified. Okay. How can MVBDC assist him in getting contract? Is there anywhere he can get help in understanding government contracts?
Yeah, Bruce, I mean, again, you use the word certified. If you've been certified by the NVBDC, then this question really should not come up because part of your onboarding process is we actually show you, teach you, train you where to go, where to get registered, how to do this, and you get automatically added to our email database where we're sending out emails from our corporations looking for veterans who do whatever skill. I have no idea what you do. I can tell you, I just put one out the other day, for CVS drugstores looking for construction guys. We do this almost every day. in the sense of our corporations come to us and ask us to go into the market. Now, again, you use the word certified. I don't know who you're certified by, but if you become certified by us, then we, in fact, will send you a list of the top 500 corporations to get registered. I mean, we do a lot to support you. I mean, that's what we're in the business for, is to help each other. We're vets helping vets. I mean, I do this for you. So hopefully that's an answer.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I see the next thing in talking from Ryan, who was talking about the P-tax. Absolutely. We worked with the P-tax, and we work with virtually every, what I call training program, every resource available to our veterans. The VBOX, the P-tax, I mean, all of the, acronyms, the SBA. I tell people, I know I'm dating myself, but I went through the SCORE program, if you're familiar with the SCORE program, in 1984. So, I'm an advocate of any of these training programs or any of these assistance programs. So they, again, will give you assistance in federal contracting, not necessarily anything to do with corporate. I want to be as clear as I can be. What we created the National Veteran Business Development Council for was to address the issue that corporations basically at that time did not include veterans in their supplier diversity chain, and we're not hiring veteran businesses, period. And that's why we created it. The fact that I have 3 different federal agencies, the fact that I have 7 different states who now accept or honor our certification was an add-on.
Hey. Thank you, Keith. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. King? Okay. Well, first of all, I want to definitely thank Keith for being here, for
Excuse me, kid. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I had my hand raised there, and so I know it can be hard to kind of see that. So I didn't know if I'm thinking, oh my goodness, can that be seen to by them?
Okay, go ahead if you want to ask Keith a question.
Hi, Mr. King. My name's Jeff Arnold, and I've got I've got a question. But before I get into that question, I'm a Cold War vet, which most people obviously don't know. I'm about 10, 15 years after your generation of Vietnam vets, and my 27 years in uniform, I'm convinced, and it's a shame that this country gave the Vietnam vet so much disrespect. And it's about time they're getting that respect. They should have had it years ago.
Thank you.
So now that said, I'm currently the coordinator of military and veteran services for Oakland Community College, and I don't know if this is your wheelhouse, but if we had student veterans that were entertaining the idea of starting business, could they contact your office?
Yeah, because again, what we do, and what I'm working with the University of Syracuse, I'm working with a lot of different universities all over the country who are training entrepreneurs. And what we question that first was posed is, okay, we love your training entrepreneurs. Are any of them veterans? And oh, well, yeah, now we're looking at, creating and isolating and or identifying veterans as part of that entrepreneur training program. And then after that, my question always is look, what happens to them after they completed their program? They mentioned, CBOC and Boots to Business and all of the different programs. And my contention has been the same since I started all of this. 80% of every new business fails. We all know the stats about, it's rough to have a new business. But my point has been, okay, you train them, you pat them on the back or pat them on the butt, throw them out the door and say, hey, you know, go forth and we hope you make it. My point has been, wait a minute. Let me show you, let me teach you, let me open a door for you to look at where you're going, how you're getting there, and the opportunities that exist, not only in doing business with corporate government or corporate business, but and or government business, depending on what your expertise is. Because I got to tell you, the thing that we have found most rewarding is when we start talking to the veteran and we say, what did you do in the military? And a story that I always hesitate to tell, but the one that just strikes everybody is I was in Dallas. I was talking to this guy who was just moaning and, excuse my language, bitching about the job that he had in his business. And I said, well, what do you, I'm kind of doing this consulting stuff. Well, what did you do in the military? He said, oh, I ran a nuclear power plant in the submarines for 8 years. I said, what? He said, yeah, I was a Navy chief and I did all this stuff. And I went, oh my God, I don't know what your company is, but are you nuts? I mean, my God, I can name 5 energy companies who would hire you today. Well, you know, it never clicked on in his head to say, wait a minute, if I took my business as a nuclear consultant, that I could kick open doors in the civilian world. I mean, here in Michigan, we got, you know, a couple of nuclear plants, you know, I mean, believe me, this was a hot thing. I actually did this guy. I called a couple of the energy companies and my one guy I loved because he was a Marine said, tell him I'll double his salary and I'll fly him here. I want him to start tomorrow. You know, so what I tried to do to answer your question, Jeff, is simply this. I actually do have training programs already written that we're looking at to see when, where, and how we want to implement them to do just exactly what I'm talking about. Let's take a look at what you did in the military. Does that relate to your business? Is this anything that we can maximize that energy, that effort, that knowledge, turn it into a company, and then identify your prospective customers? And that's what we've done fairly well for the last 7 years.
Okay, well, thank you. You know, I'm hoping I can get just some contact information, and I definitely want to. You know, it's when you're dealing with a student vet, you've got two perspectives. The students wanting to carry over the skill they had from the military, and there's some people that just simply want to change altogether. And a lot of times when they get into a college business administration type of class and program, they're looking at they want to be an entrepreneur.
Well, you know, I can relate to that because basically I spent 8.5 months as an M60 gunner in Vietnam, and I had no intentions of being a gunner when I got home. And so, you know, I went into the advertising business. You know, I mean, yeah, I can relate to the story.
Hey, I'll share a similarity with you. I was in navigation. I loved it, but I knew I didn't want to do it in the civilian life. And here's a funny coincidence. I too found myself in advertising.
There you go. All right. See, you know,
Thank you.
there's a lot of good people in advertising.
Okay, so wow, those some great questions, and Keith, you are a wealth of knowledge. I tell you that.
Thank you, buddy.
And I mean, like I said,
getting old.
You say that again.
So that's the advantage of being old. I've lived long enough, you know. Just ask me.
That's the advantage of having wisdom. That's all. Lived experience. Like I said, when I first met with you, when I first met you, you know, some years ago, then definitely found out that, you know, you were a Vietnam veteran. Because I had 2 uncles that served in Vietnam. One was combat wounded. I believe definitely both are service connected. But it's always how quite honestly, how our older veterans were treated, especially, you know, our Vietnam era veterans were treated, really really tugged at me, really bothered me. And of course, overall, how veterans overall I feel get marginalized with a lot of in a lot of various areas. So definitely the Vietnam era vets. Like for instance, when I heard about the drinking water, veterans are able to get they linked health issues to the drinking water at Camp Lejeune. Now my dad was in the Marine Corps, and so I'll never forget when I first read that, calling my dad, like, Dad, did you know about, the drinking water at Camp Lejeune? When he trained at Paris Island, you know? So I was relieved because, my dad is diabetic and I'm trying to link, and his diabetes came on after he got out the Corps. But I never forget speaking to another Marine who told me he was very bothered. He came down with brain cancer, didn't have cancer running through his family, didn't know where this cancer came from. He was an older veteran, had not registered VA. He served during the Vietnam era in the 70s. I remember sending him down to the VA to get registered so he can get, part of a team. And at the doctor, he called me back maybe a couple weeks later and said, Mr. McDonald, you never believe this. They found out that I was in Camp Lejeune, South Carolina. They linked the drinking water to the various cancers that people had from there, and he got closure. So I believe now this gentleman was 100%. Who, when he called me, he was unemployed. He couldn't work because of his brain cancer. But the fact that he was able to get closure and find out that his cancer was contributing to drinking water Camp Lejeune. So Keith, you just hit on a whole gamut of things. Once again, I definitely thank you for being here and sharing the wealth of knowledge that you have. Before we continue on, we wanted to give out another gift card, and we wanted to state that Mr. Keith Bratton, you have won a gift card. You'll be receiving an gift card. So that is pretty awesome right there. Excuse me, Kevin Bratton. I'm sorry. Kevin Bratton, you have received an gift card. Now, also, before our next section here is going to be where our vendors, our resources rather, are going to speak. But before we have our vendors speak, resources speak, we did want to show another short video, okay? The Vietnam War marked a time of social unrest that divided our nation, and service members returning home with physical and emotional scars were treated with disrespect and dishonor. When you encounter a veteran, thank them for their service. You never know how powerful those words can be. I remember a movie came out called Thank You for Your Service, and I guess it was kind of a play on words, so to speak. But, thanking a veteran, period, for their service is sometimes that can weigh, that's more than $1 million kind of deal, just thanking, whether whatever era, peacetime, wartime, just thanking you for the fact that you enlisted and or were drafted, but you served our nation and helped keep the rest of us safe. So just wanted to state that. And now we're going to show video.
Can I help you?
Just a cup of coffee, please.
Coming right up. Oh, there's no charge.
Thank you.
Here you go.
Thanks again.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
Can I take a picture?
Sure.
All right, smile. There you go. My son would like to ask you a question. Are you a hero too? That man said you were.
I just served as best I could.
Can we take a picture?
Sure.
You smell big. What do you think? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
Can I get you a refill?
Wow, wow. Another, definitely another powerful clip right there. And once again, just saying thank you. Thank you to that veteran, regardless of whenever he or she has served. Just saying thank you. That was a great, great example right there of acknowledgement. Right now, what we wanted to do is let our community organizations speak and speak to how they help veterans and their family members. So I'll go ahead and start with about my role as the Oakland Community Health Network Veterans Navigator. So I am with Oakland Community Health Network. We are the behavioral health provider for Oakland County, and we have partner agencies, other providers that are under the umbrella, as you would say, of OCHN. There's a total of 17 veteran navigators in the state of Michigan. So 8 regional, 9 county navigators, and only Michigan and Texas have what's called the Veteran Navigator Program. So our program was created, kind of birthed out of a need. The state recognized there were about 60,000 veterans that were unaccounted for on anybody's roles, be it PA or behavioral health, just about 60,000 that just were not registered or just not receiving any kind of services or benefits. So our roles were created out of a need and as a need and awareness. And as a navigator, our roles are pretty unique as well. We're able to assist veterans regardless of era. So if you served in World War II, which is a quick side note, which I love meeting the gentlemen from World War II. They're in their upper 90s, they're 100 years old and quite spry to be a century-year-old and things like that. So that's pretty awesome. Veterans, but so able to serve veterans regardless of era, regardless of time served. So I've helped veterans that did maybe a week in basic boot camp, for whatever reason had to leave, but they still signed up. They still were, they still served in our U.S. military, so I'm able to help them out. Time served regardless of discharge. We know that discharge has been when you talk to a veteran, you ask them about what the discharge is. In some situations, that can be, as they would say, a deal breaker for a veteran receiving help or services because he or she didn't have an honorable discharge, or at least a general. So in our roles as navigators, we're able to help regardless if you have an honorable, dishonorable, uncharacterized, or even a medical discharge. Our role and goal as navigators is to help anyone that has served in our United States military, regardless of time served or whatever. And also, our role is to help the family members. For instance, I mentioned my dad served in the Marine Corps. Well, my mom served too. And she got the after effects of his time in service. Me being his son and me having a brother, we got the after effects of his time in service. And that after effects, be it whether good or bad. So our roles as navigators, we're able to help the family members as well. Even if the veteran has passed on, I've helped many widows with trying to help their affairs get together after their spouse, their husband's passed on. trying to see what else we can get them connected with. So that's how we're able to help as navigators, and like I said, getting folks plugged into behavioral health services, mental health, substance abuse, housing, try to connect you with appropriate transportation services. We're able to work within various, platforms within various agencies that work closely with the VA on various issues, be it from housing or try to get them connected through substance abuse. Wow, it's a lot of areas that us as navigators pretty much have try to have our hands in to try to help our veterans and their family members get connected. So that's my role as the navigator. My contact information is right there on your screen. Feel free to give me a call or pass my number along to whomever you think may need to have your services. Okay. So now I want to present our next community resource as well, and that's going to be Easterseals of Michigan, one of our core providers on the OCHN. They do great work with Easterseals. Yes, they do. They provide quality behavioral health services, including but not limited to individual and group therapy, psychiatric support, case management, and peer support services. And I believe Ryan Boudreau is a veteran. He's going to speak more to what Easterseals does. Okay, maybe Ryan is not here, but Ryan isn't here. We thought Ryan was going to be here, but that's no problem. I work very closely with Jennifer Fisher and Ryan. They both sit on our OCHN Veterans Work Group. So they're pretty much core members of our work group representing behavioral health and getting people connected. So Easterseals also has a grant called the CCBHC, where they're able to help a veteran who may not have Medicaid or Medicare, who just may have the VA healthcare benefit. If that veteran needs behavioral health care, Easterseals is able to help them out, regardless if that veteran has particular insurance. They could be non-insured, underinsured, etc. Under this particular grant, they're able to help on out through the CCBHC program. So that is Easterseals. And you see the contact name right there being Jennifer Fisher. Her email's there as well, and their phone number is there. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Easterseals, for presenting your information. And we have our next one being.
Chaka, this is Suzanne Weinert. Can you mention the email and the phone number? There is a message in the chat that they can't see the phone number. So if you can make sure to mention all the contact information for those that can't see the screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely. You're definitely welcome. Do we want to go back to, okay. So yeah, Easterseals is J.E. Fisher. So J.E. as in Edward, Fisher at E as in Edward, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, Michigan.org. Their phone number, Jennifer's phone number is 248-706-2937, 248-706-2937. And once again, the contact name is Miss Jennifer Fisher. Okay. Let's go to our next one. Okay. Now we have awesome partner with MVAA, Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency. The MVAA is the state of Michigan's central coordinating agency for connecting veterans and their loved ones to benefits and resources they need or may be eligible for. And if I could do a quick side note, we have a event coming up with MVAA in Detroit, August 15th. It's going to be at the Detroit Vet Center right there on East Jefferson. That's going to be a great event. I'll really start pushing that on out even more. I know I just shouted out a couple times, but we've partnered with MVAA on various initiatives to help Michigan's veterans. But Mr. Ryan Ingle is going to speak more about what MVAA can do.
Hey, Chaka, can you hear me? I just want to thank you for having me today and the opportunity to hopefully reach some veterans kind of about what we do. I mean, I guess to start, Chaka talked about the Navigators program and how it exists here and in Texas. And I mean, I can't say if you're listening and you're not familiar with the Navigators program or weren't familiar, I mean, it's an incredible resource for the state of Michigan and the veterans and their families. So being spread out throughout the state, different regions and counties. But about MVAA, similar to kind of probably the creation of the Veteran Navigator program, we're a relatively young agency established about 7 years ago with, the intent he just mentioned to connect veterans, be that central coordinating agency. So we don't run, we're not a large scale operation. When you think of the federal VA and its reach and breadth and healthcare, it's one of the largest, if not the largest integrated healthcare network in the world. We're a small shop. I mean, we have a little over 30 employees, but really to be that facilitating and coordinating resource to connect veterans and their families to all those programs, be it at the state level, within private industry, the federal level, et cetera. And, really a little about me. I mean, I'm a Marine infantryman by trade, have a lot of passion for the work I do. And prior to this, I had the opportunity to serve as the director at the Jacob Eddy Veterans Home up in Marquette, Michigan. The Department of Military and Veterans Affairs runs 2 state veterans homes, one in Grand Rapids, one in Marquette. Where they're building a 3rd one down in Chesterfield Township in Southeast Michigan, so that's exciting. And those are great facilities and have a lot of benefits, financially and otherwise, for veterans that need long-term care. But Keith had talked about that veteran, bond, and I had the opportunity to see and know that working in long-term care, as an Afghanistan veteran. Being able to relate and serve with, be alongside gentlemen and ladies that were Battle of the Bulge, POWs in Korea, dive bombers in World War II, and the bond is very real. But just about MVAA, I think our bread and butter is, if you're not familiar, 1-800-MICH-VET, MICHVET. That's our Michigan Veteran Resource Service Center. And our service technicians are really the subject matter experts and answer any question a veteran or a family member, can imagine, whether it's connecting somebody who needs mental health support, be it to the Navigators, the VA crisis line, if it's a crisis, housing, benefits, employment, just all the different resources out there. They're really subject matter experts in that. And so that's our bread and butter. We also administer the Michigan Veterans Trust Fund, which again, when I look throughout the country, I see that as a key resource, a $40 or $50 million pot of money set aside by the state after World War II to really help veterans with the temporary emergency financial hardship. And I don't have the data in front of me, but have just given out incredible amounts of money to veterans in need. And we really, see that in Michigan as, hey, they served us. It's our opportunity to serve them when they need it. So those are two of the areas. And Chaka, I could go on for a long time, and I'll ask you to cut me off if I'm taking up too much time. But we as an organization focus around the 4 pillars: education, employment, healthcare, and quality of life. And a newer initiative that we're really refocusing on is outreach efforts, planning and kind of a strategic plan for outreach efforts across the country at different bases, obviously being that virtual right now, but attracting transitioning service members to Michigan. And I say that if you're from Michigan and you're making that transition to veteran status, we want you to come back home, and we want to be able to serve you here. But if you're not from Michigan, reaching those 2 that might not know where that next step is going to be, and really making sure they have the information to know what Michigan has to offer. And I think everybody, maybe on this line knows there's a lot of things here that, if you're not from Michigan, or if you've never been here or walked along the Great Lakes or gone to a Tigers game, et cetera, you might not realize. So we're doing that because we recognize, Michigan, we want veterans here in Michigan, but they bring a lot of value for the economy here, the nonprofit sector and others due to their service. So that was a little about that. We also have a throughout the state of Michigan, so not a huge footprint in that regard. We have five veteran service officers at different places throughout the state, so we can assist with benefits and resources in that regard as well. And really during COVID-19, we've been kind of doing a lot of enhanced virtual outreach. Every couple of weeks, we'll host virtual coffee hours with key folks, key guests that we bring online for different topics. We've held on education resources, workforce development, resources for tribal veterans, resources for women veterans. We have one coming up August 6th focused on mental health resources for veterans. And we try to reach out to be it key subject matter experts, service providers, organizations, employers, et cetera, to bring them on as guests to coffee hours. There's also a weekly radio program our directors, Annetta Adams, hosts on WJR. It goes on Saturdays from 3 to 4. I think it's WJR. It's on AM 760, called The Veterans Perspective, and really is just another means of dialogue and information and outreach to the veterans community. So we've really tried to step that up. You look at many of the challenges we have nationally and here in Michigan. One that we're also working on is, the governor has the 60 by 30 initiative. 60% of our working aged individuals by 2030 having some form of certificate or job skill or higher education to really enhance Michigan economies. And I think veterans can bring a lot to that. In an area specifically is we have a lot of registered apprenticeship programs in the state of Michigan. I think the second most registered programs by the Department of Labor in the country. But not a ton of those are approved for GI Bill use. So allowing veterans to get those opportunities, but also get the GI Bill benefits they've used for. So we're doing outreach to companies, that have existing programs, but also as new programs come on board, ensuring employers, as they create apprenticeships, take that extra step, a little additional paperwork to make sure that they get a GI Bill approved and veterans can use their benefits as they build skills. Gain meaningful careers and, serve themselves, but serve Michigan overall too. So that's kind of the nickel tour for me on a Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency. And I'd be happy, I don't know if the Q&A format is after, but to answer any questions I have. My email is engler3@michigan.gov. My focus is more around strategic partnerships, so I can, if you want to reach out to me that way, you can. But again, our bread and butter is our resource service center at 1-800-MICH-VET. So, Chuck, I'm just grateful for you having me today and the opportunity to, spread some awareness of what we do and hopefully reach some veterans.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for, like I said, you being a part, with your agency being a part, like I said, and having a chance to partner with you guys on various initiatives and definitely further collaboration in the future. So. You guys have been a great partner. Definitely appreciate that. Okay, guys. Our next agency is going to be CapTel. Stated they provide caption and amplified phones for those with hearing loss, so they can communicate more effectively on the telephone. The hearing loss does not need to be service related in order to receive a phone. Ms. Jennifer Whelans is going to speak to what CapTel can provide. Okay. Jennifer, you there?
All right. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep, we can hear you now.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me today. And I just want to point out that these phones, these CapTel caption phones, it's for a very specific niche, which are people that have hearing loss, whether they wear hearing aids or not. And you don't have to be a veteran, but I try and do as much outreach to veterans because they deserve anything and everything, any resource that can improve the quality of their life. And as Keith had mentioned before, sometimes veterans feel, there's a lot of wait time or maybe some red tape to get services they need. However, with our phone, as soon as we receive the request, they get it within 24 hours. It's on their way. And when I meet veterans in the community, a lot of times they say, I never knew this resource existed. So my job is to make sure I share this and try and get as many advocates out there in the public to try and share this with veterans. And you think, why is a CapTel caption phone important? Well, it's important because, especially now, more than ever, people are feeling isolated. They're not able to see their families. And if they have a hard time hearing on the phone, they need to communicate effectively. They need to hear their doctor or their nurse or their VSO who's trying to reach them. And I recently had a veteran who has one son who lives about 45 minutes away, but that son had COVID and couldn't see his dad or take care of his dad or listen to his answering machine messages. So all of a sudden he was like, what am I going to do? And his VSO signed the paperwork verifying he has hearing loss and it does not need to be service related. And we got him his phone and he just couldn't believe that it happened so quickly and how easy it was to use. And it is very easy to use. So I work for OEI, which stands for Outreach, Education, and Installation for the CapTel phone. And now we're trying new ways to find ways to get to veterans to do this outreach. So I'm so grateful that you included me in this, because I know all these different groups of people that are here. We're here for one common thing, which is to be a resource to the veterans. If we can all help them in some way, improve their life in some way, then we're doing what we should be doing. I just want to point out, I'm holding up a sign that shows what a caption phone looks like, but it's 4 times as loud as a regular phone, and it comes with a screen that displays word for word what's being said. So if you can't hear it, hopefully you'll be able to read it. And I want to point out that our phones are made in the United States of America. We are the only manufacturer of a caption telephone that is made here in the United States, which is really important to our veterans, as I'm sure you're aware. We are national, so this program is in all 50 states. It's through the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, that states every American has the right to a fair and equal way of communicating on the phone. So it's funded through federal and state money. If anyone has any need or knows of someone that could benefit, please reach out to me. My email address is jennifer.whelans@oeius.org, and that's JENNIFER.WEALLA, N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, at OEIUS as in Sam.org. So again, thanks for having me today. And I'm actually going to send Chaka someone your way. So I just love doing these because
Jennifer?
Yes.
Can you please recite your telephone number, because the ribbon kind of hides that on the video?
Oh, for sure. Yep. I see what you mean. My phone number is 248-550-6866. And I just want to point out, this is for any age. It doesn't matter your income. None of that matters. What matters is that you have verified hearing loss, and that is what I would provide you, is a very simple form that a doctor, nurse, hearing professional, or veteran service officer signs verifying the need, and then they get the phone. So again, thanks for having me. Good to see you, Shaka.
Good to see you too, Jennifer. And once again, thank you for joining us today. And like I said, having a chance to work with Jennifer and other outreaches that we've done. And like I said, her what CapTel offers is an awesome resource. So many veterans I encounter may have some form of hearing loss, some to a higher degree than others. So this is great information. Thank you again, Jennifer.
Thank you.
We have our next resource is going to be Our next resource will be, all right. Well, okay, here we go. Our next resource is the John D. Dingle VA Medical Center. Their mission is to provide timely, compassionate, high quality care to those we serve by encouraging teamwork, education, research, innovation, and continuous improvement. One of VA's highest clinical priority is suicide prevention. We utilize evidence-based clinical strategies to care for veterans at risk for suicide. And we think we have Miss Monisha Scott, and like I said, before she gets on, I could say I started referring veterans to the VA myself personally back in 2008. I would have veterans that were coming from the Department of Corrections and weren't registered, that kind of deal. I could say I partnered with the VA on multiple things, and the VA, I mean, the response time. I can call Tara. I work with Janet out here in the community. Great. I just was on the phone with registration yesterday, trying to see about things for a veteran. Like I said, the VA has been right there on the money when I need to reach out and inquire. So here we want to hear from Miss Monisha Scott.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Hello, okay, perfect. First, I would like to thank OCHN for allowing me to be here today to present, and to thank the keynote speaker, Mr. Keith King, and our vendors for a wealth of knowledge today. Again, my name is Monisha Scott, and I am one of the suicide prevention coordinators with the Detroit VA Medical Center. And right now, suicide is a national public health concern, but it is preventable. And all of our nation's health systems and communities are currently working collectively to reduce the suicide rate using the best available information and practices. We have coordinated efforts at the federal, state, and local level, and that we're using that as a main key in preventing suicide. So currently, our VA is working to reduce suicide among all veterans, whether they are enrolled in VA healthcare or not. And the Detroit VA Suicide Prevention Team is committed to this principle. Our suicide prevention program consists of identifying, tracking, and reporting of veterans reported to be at an elevated high risk for suicide. And the team of suicide prevention coordinators are subject matter experts in this area at the medical facility, and we're working very closely with providers to assure enhanced care services are offered to our veterans who are at an elevated risk and flagged high risk. So the VA has adopted a public health approach to suicide prevention, and we're using bundled approaches to prevention that cut across various sectors, such as faith-based communities, working with employers, schools, law enforcement agencies, and other healthcare organizations. Just to mention a few, we are working with the Governor's Challenge on suicide prevention, and we're closely working together with our faith-based communities and law enforcement on how to really educate them about suicide prevention and how they can also help us in this endeavor to minimize veterans dying by suicide. So the Detroit VA Suicide Prevention Team, we want to continue collaborating with our community partners. Just to mention a few of the vendors that were present today, I can't tell you how many veterans and family members of veterans I have linked with your services that have had tremendous outcome and support from the services that you all have provided. One of the other things that our team really likes to do is provide a lot of education where we go out into the community and provide training to community providers. One particular training we provide is the SAVE training at no cost, and it's a 1-hour training that kind of overviews the suicide prevalence, risk, and warning signs, and how someone can respond if they ever encounter anyone at risk for suicide. We really want to educate them about our Veterans Crisis Line that veterans can use by calling, texting, or chatting online with a licensed and professional counselor to help them in times of crisis. And it's not just for veterans as well. Loved ones, family members, even someone who has concern for someone that may be at risk can give a call. And the professional counselors on the crisis line will reach out and offer support. But they also link them with their local suicide prevention coordinator at whichever healthcare facility that they're affiliated with or not affiliated with. to make sure that they get additional support, resources, and follow-up. So again, I thank you for allowing me to be here today. I learned so much, and I'm definitely going to be taking back information to my team, new information to my team that I've learned today. And I want to thank you for allowing me to be here.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Can you share your email address there? My ribbon just kind of goes over.
No problem. I will actually share it in the text box, but my email is monisha.scott@vea.gov.
Okay. I've got a question in regards to your crisis line. Is that a three-digit number?
It is actually in the process of transitioning to a 3-digit number, which I think is going to be 988. The official transition has not happened yet, but it's coming soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And once again, thank you again, Ms. Scott, for representing the VA and joining us this afternoon now. Also, like I said, at the end of everyone's presentation, these resources are going to be provided to everyone that attended. And also in the chat box, their information is being presented on the side as well. And another quick side note, I understand that ribbon is right there. You can take your cursor and just click above it and it'll go away. So you can try that as well. But also at the same time, we're going to be sending these resources out to everyone as well. Okay. And our next resource is going to be CNS Healthcare. CNS Healthcare is another one of our behavioral health providers under OCHN, and CNS provides mental health and substance use disorder services regardless of insurance or discharge status. And I will also say that CNS has created its own veterans committee to address and help veterans that utilize CNS's healthcare. I'm part of that committee, along with many others, and they do great work as well. And Jeff's here from CNS, and he can expound further onto what they can offer.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you for having me. This has been a very insightful session. Thank you, Mr. Keith King, and all the other representatives. There's a wealth of information to pass on. Something about me. I am also a Cold War veteran, graduated high school '79, retired in 2003 in the Army Reserves as a nurse, and I used my VA benefits to get that degree also. Okay, some things about CNS Healthcare. We are a nonprofit proving mental health and substance use disorder services to children and adults. Our offices are mostly in Oakland County and Wayne counties. In Oakland counties, we have offices in Waterford, Pontiac, Novi, Southfield, and we have most recently, we have an office in Detroit. We are also a certified community behavioral health clinic, or CCDHC, which means we can provide services to anyone, regardless of their insurance. No one will be turned away. Veterans are a special target for us, and they can receive services, as Shaka mentioned before, regardless of discharge status. And services do depend on need, but we can also include therapy, psychiatry, case management, medication assisted treatment for substance use disorders, job assistance, and more. And if you would like to learn more, please visit our website at www.cnshealthcare.org. And you may also email us at info@cnshealthcare.org. We can also be followed on social media. And to begin services, all you need to do is call our intake department. That number is 877-211-8611. We also host a women's veteran support group, That is non-clinical, meets monthly. Right now it's virtual, of course, due to COVID-19. And if you're interested in that, you may Google at Waterford/Oakland, Michigan Peer Veteran Support Groups, or you may call the hotline at 248-519-2325. CNS Healthcare is also passionate about community outreach and education. If you are interested in having a mental health professional speak to your business, church, school, etc., we will be happy to help. Presentations are free. And you may email for that at communityoutreach@cnshealthcare.org. Okay. Any questions? We're an entity similar to Easterseals, so so we do pretty much the same thing.
All right.
Thank you for that. And like I said before, thank you for having us. And like you said, the information is posted. You can email Kara Johnson for more information and phone her also.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
If
anybody has any questions, you definitely want to type them into the chat box on the side. But Jeff's information, Kara's information is right there on the screen. Also will be forwarded over to you as well. Like I said, CNS does great work. Like I said, has a committee specifically for veterans in the community and veterans that utilize CNS healthcare. So they do great work. Thank you again, Jeff.
Thank you.
Our next resource is going to be Freedom Road Transportation Authority. Awesome work as well. They provide mileage reimbursement to low-income, senior and disabled individuals up to 200 miles per month at 55 cents per mile. And we're going to have, I want to say Shane is going to be presenting from Freedom Road Transportation Authority. Once again, I had a chance to work with them for quite a while now. They do great work in the community. Shane? Okay. Well, if either Shane is here or he's having communications issues, but I can speak to what Freedom Road does. So Freedom Road, as it states right there in their in the banner, they provide reimbursement. Okay, so they provide reimbursement. They don't provide transportation, but they provide reimbursement. Well, what do you mean by reimbursement? Which means, for instance, in the vet community, if we have a veteran that needs a ride, for instance, veterans need a ride to behavioral health providers in the community, or just needs a ride in the community wherever he or she may need to go. If that veteran, I'm using veteran, specific, but if that veteran found someone that could transport him or her, that person that transported them would get reimbursed, as it states, up to 200 miles per month at 55 cents per mile. Okay, so the person would be able to get reimbursed for taking that veteran to his or her appointments, or just running around in the community. Like I said, out here in Oakland County, you get more to the more rural areas, even Macomb County as well. Transportation can definitely start becoming an issue. So with Freedom Road Transportation Authority, they're able to assist veterans and civilians with providing that reimbursement to an individual who is designated as being that person's ride to various agencies, community events or stores. So the contact person's name is Ms. Shane Rule, and as you see on the banner, if you don't see, I'll read it on out. Email address is Shane FRT. So that's Shane, F as in Frank, R, T as in Tom, at gmail.com. And her phone number is 248-232-1259, 248-232-1259. Once That's Freedom Road Transportation Authority. And once again, this information will be sent out to everyone after this is concluded. Okay. Our next one is Oakland County Veterans Services. They weren't able to be here today. Mr. Garth is the Oakland County Veterans Services Director over the two offices, one in Pontiac, one in Troy. Ms. Lauren Chamberlain is the supervisor at the Pontiac location, located at the 1200 complex, okay, with a courthouse and common ground, all in that complex there. Maggie Spielman is the supervisor at the Troy location of Oakland County Vet Services. So they have highly trained and VA accredited veterans benefits counselors who will help veterans and their family members understand and apply for benefits they are entitled to. Our professional counselors will advocate on behalf of veterans while simplifying the application process. Services are free of charge. I can say personally, I've walked several veterans over to Oakland County Veterans Services and to help them meet with their counselors and doing a warm handoff to one of their veteran services counselors that are there. Once again, one of the biggest issues I see in Oakland County, actually this whole region, but I'm going to focus on Oakland County, is veterans not being connected to benefits and services. Veterans that are eligible. When I say eligible, they can maybe have a 10% disability rate up to 100%, and that affects quality of life. For instance, if you have a veteran that's 100% service connected, he or she doesn't have to pay taxes on their home. A lot of veterans are not aware of their benefits and things like that. So we have a great partnership with Oakland County Vet Services in making sure veterans get plugged in to their benefits and services. So the contact person there is going to be Ms. Lauren Chamberlain, and her email is right there. And also in the chat box here, you have both their phone numbers, but Lauren's email is C as in Charles, H, A, M as in man, B as in boy, E as in Edward, R, L, I, N as in Nancy, L at oakgov.com. Phone numbers for the Pontiac location is 248-858-0785. They are still working even in the midst of COVID, so you're able to call and things like that, and they can start claims in for you. Also, there's a grant for Oakland County for veterans, be it peacetime or wartime. It's a grant that provides up to $2,500 for issues that may have been brought about due to COVID. So folks are not able to work and various things like that. Folks can apply for this particular grant up to $2,500 per veteran. You just have to be an Oakland County resident and have to have proof of an honorable discharge or general discharge. You got to have your DD-214. But you can contact Oakland County Vet Services to get more insight into that grant that's available for Oakland County veterans. Okay. And our next resource.
Actually, that was the final vendor that we had for today. So I want to thank all of the vendors for being here. All vendor information will be sent out following the event. So if you have an additional question, please feel free to reach out. So before I introduce our next guest, we're going to announce our next raffle winner. Congratulations to Jeff Arnold. You will be sent an e-gift card. All right. Now I'd like to introduce Mr. Chuck Colby from the Lansing Festival Group 3 Men and a Tenor. Chuck, along with group members Mark, Paul, and Glenn, have been together 28 years. The group has over 3,000 performances together, a national touring schedule, and has opened shows for national legends like Jay Leno and the Beach Boys. They performed the national anthem to start the NASCAR Firekeepers 400 on October 1, starting their own national PBS TV special, 3 Men and a Tenor in Concert, that was shown across the country from Los Angeles to Nashville on major PBS affiliates. 3 Men and a Tenor has been asked to perform in Germany for a U.S. military base tour and performed 61 shows in 28 days for military men and women and their families. So Chuck is here today to tell us a little bit about his connection to the military, and will also be playing one of their songs, A Hero's Prayer. So with that, I introduce Mr. Chuck Colby.
Hey, thank you so much. I've been listening in on the program, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this. I'm not a veteran, but myself and all four of the guys in the group, we are sons of military men, and it's really an honor to be invited to be a guest here today. As you heard, we were invited to be guests on U.S. military bases in Germany, 2 different tours in 2004, and then again in 2006. And we were invited not by the USO or by the military itself, but by a music teacher on the Department of Defense schools who called and said, we've got kids who really need something. We've got families who really need something. We've got guys who are deployed. Some of our bases, over 90% of the guys are deployed, and we really need to do something special. And so they invited us to go, and our show is fun. You know, there are three guys that are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and then the tenor is 5 feet tall, as you can see in that picture right there. That's not a modified photo. Those are the real people in the group right there. So we went and we had a great time with the kids and a great time on the bases, and then we were invited to go to Landstuhl Hospital. And while we were there, the base commander took us into various rooms, and I think he set us up. I think he wanted to see what we were made of first. He took us into a room where the guy was bandaged from head to toe, they asked if we could sing a song, and so we did. And his wife was right there, and I remember him reaching out his hand to his wife and saying, "Honey, hold my hand," and it really meant something that we were there. And what I was struck with the most while I was visiting with my partners was the extreme dedication that all of these young men had. As we went from room to room and saw guys and sang songs and had fun, we would always say, "What's next?" whenever we would talk to a young man who had been injured, and invariably the response was, "Oh, I hope I go back. I've got guys that are counting on me." And it's that dedication that we witnessed that really encouraged us to go on a second tour. After our first tour, we paid our own way to go on this tour. It wasn't a money-making venture for us. We were given room and board. We had a sponsor that paid for our travel, but we paid our own expenses for sound equipment and for anything we bought on the economy while we were there. We were so impressed with the guys there. We had to go back. A couple of years later, we met this Vietnam veteran who came, and he heard our story about going and visiting the U.S. military bases and singing for the kids. And he presented us with this song. It's called A Hero's Prayer. It's a song that a Lansing area veteran wrote. He was a Vietnam vet, a naval vet, a submariner. And he introduced this song to us and invited us to sing it and perform it. He sang it for us right there in this park in Lansing. And we were absolutely floored by the lyrics to the song. And I believe, Emily, we're going to share the song with the group. Is that correct?
Yep, we are.
Great. Well, let's go ahead and do that, folks. I'd like to thank you again for your service and really appreciate being a part of your program this morning.
bless the heroes. God bless the ones that didn't come home. Pray for the heroes. Pray for the heroes. That none of them had to die alone. They serve to keep our country safe. Please keep them safe, I pray. And Lord, oh Lord, I pray, don't let there be any heroes made today. For those who serve our country, it can be a lonely time, but no matter what the cost, the young men go. They fight for God and country, and if you've ever served, you know my father served and said his sons would go. God bless the heroes. God bless the heroes. God bless the ones that didn't come home. Pray for the heroes. Pray for the heroes. That none of them had to die alone. They serve to keep our country safe. Please keep them safe, I pray. And Lord, oh Lord, I pray, don't let there be any heroes made today. We owe them all a debt, and it's what we can't repay. We must bring them home with honor and remember them each day. They made the sacrifice that keeps our country safe and strong. So we remember, we love and honor them to us all. They all belong. God bless the heroes. God bless the heroes. God bless the ones that didn't come home. Pray for the heroes. Pray for the heroes. That none of them had to die alone. They serve to keep our country safe. Please keep them safe, I pray. And Lord, oh Lord, I pray, don't let there be any heroes made today. Don't let there be any heroes made today.
What a moving song. Thank you, Chuck. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us here today. To learn more about 3 Men and a Tenor, you can visit their website at 3menandatenor.com.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. All right, Chaka, with that, I will turn it over to you.
Okay. Once again, yes, definitely thank you, Chuck, for joining us today. At this time, we wanted to commemorate a very special person I've had a chance to know for quite a little while now. This person is Mr. Mo De La O, or Modesto De La O. We call him Mo. Mo is a commander at the BFW 1370 Huey Campbell Post in Pontiac, Michigan. Mo is also a Marine Corps veteran. Mo was appointed as a mentor at the Oakland County Veterans Court, where he acts as an example, provides advice, lends a listening ear to veterans who found themselves struggling as they transition from military back to civilian life. Mo was selected as a buddy-to-buddy liaison to the 1775th MP unit in Pontiac, Michigan, checking in with the troops on drill weekends and connecting them with any personal and family support that may be needed, including financial, scholastic, and legal. After being granted a one-year gym scholarship, Mo continued to volunteer with the We Defy Foundation, which offers veterans combat disabilities and a coping mechanism through martial arts and fitness. Additionally, he co-founded a free veterans Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class that meets every Saturday and Sunday, providing veterans an opportunity to get together with like-minded individuals in a mentally and physically healthy atmosphere. Today, we honor Mo with the Comrade of the Year Award. Mo, thank you for your dedication to your fellow veterans, and of course, we wish we could shake your hand in person, but you will be receiving a Comrade of the Year certificate and gift card. And if I could say that I've had a chance to see Mo in action, he's been awesome, and having a chance to go to his jiu-jitsu class on a Sunday and see how the class and what he's doing is impacting veterans heavily. Mo, are there any words that you would like to say?
Dude, Chaka, I can't thank you guys enough. I'm incredibly grateful. I'm equally humbled, through receiving such a award, considering the company we're in this call alone and everything we've heard of all the people, what they do to help the community, all these vets helping other vets. It's a big deal, especially coming from OCHN and particularly you, Chaka. It's a big deal to me. My past, what I tend to do in the future. I just got nothing but thanks. And I do want to share, I'm glad you touched on it. I do want to share a couple things. The first one being that I'm glad you brought that up. For those that don't know, Chaka did attend the Veterans Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class. It's a free class for vets to try and give it a go to see if it's something they can find interesting. They might even find therapeutic, like I did. Kind of get that stuff out of you in a healthy way. And Chaka did go, and they find that camaraderie. We appreciate you coming. The class also provides fundamentals, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, drills, move the day, but they also offers live rolling, and you got to see that. This is no surprise to anybody. It's every vet's favorite part because they get to try out whatever they learned on each other and try to submit each other. So how do you submit someone? A couple ways. Popular submissions are shoulder locks, arm bars, and chokes. What was interesting was that Chaka did not join us for that part. We might see him next time. Maybe he'll try it next time. But he knows I'm messing with him and I'm currently adjust with him. He knows how much I appreciate everything he's done. I do have to thank my post 1370. We're a little post, but we know how to make impact. We know how vets feel welcomed. And just in case anybody didn't know, we got a new stage. So if anybody got any skills they want to showcase, come on down. If you don't know, big deal. That's never stopped anybody either. So go ahead. It's no big deal. The buddy program, the 775th Dark Horse, that MP unit's been great. They're right down the street, so it's a pleasure to go visit them. Got to thank Victorious MMA, Victor Torres, for being the relentlessly hounding me to try jiu-jitsu. He continues to try and relentlessly get me on the mat, but it's almost so I can get better. Another instructor, Pokey, for his mentorship. The We Defy Foundation for believing in me and giving me that scholarship. And of course, everyone at the Veterans Jiu-Jitsu class, you know what happens when you get a bunch of vets together. I'll let your imagination wonder about that, but I'm sure you know. The Oakland County Veteran Court, Judge Grant, Reese Cook, Marseille, great working with him. The mentor, you know how big a deal that is to me, Shaka. That's I don't take that role lightly. I think of my old platoon sergeant. I envision and try to project that. You know, the no fluff, just raw. You know, sometimes unfiltered conversations about the situation we find ourselves in and what we're going to do about it. So it's productive. OCHN, Shaka, Emily, thank you for the recognition. I appreciate you, everything you're doing, your mission. I'm glad to help in your vision any way I can. The stuff that I just said, it led me to start a nonprofit. It's currently underway, but it's to help capture those moments with vets that just want to find that camaraderie again, that esprit de corps where you're with another vet, and then you can, you know, before you know, you start networking, things happen, and it's a go. So it's going to be centered around martial arts. It's underway. It's got a ways to go, but we're almost there. So we're going to start that and look for the name. It's going to be named Foxhole for some obvious reasons. You know, that aside, I got to say one last thing. That's there's a buddy of mine. He's a fellow Marine who's going through a really tough time with his family. But he said something to me when I first stepped in as the VFW commander, and it just stuck with me because it makes me laugh. And I come to find out, I found out that he borrowed those words from another famous individual. But he told me when I first stepped in that it's okay, you know, to step into this leadership role that I knew nothing about as far as a VFW goes. I just knew it's a leadership role. But he told me that it ain't bragging if you can back it up. Hoorah. And that just stuck with me. It made me laugh because it's such a funny saying. Later, I found out that Muhammad Ali is the one that originated that phrase. But he's going through a tough time, so I'm hoping this finds its way back to him so I can motivate him a little bit, let him know it's going to be okay. Aside from that, guy, I can't thank you enough. Just listen to everybody here and what they're doing. I'm just honored, man. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you. And like I said, thank you for the awesome work you've done. And I know the awesome things that you're going to be doing in the future with Foxhole and just as an individual. And of course, definitely with the Vet Treatment Corps. You have been a huge asset and valuable resource in Vet Treatment Corps. Okay, now, and then speaking of gift cards, it is time to give away another one. And congratulations, Ms. Deborah Bohannon. You will be receiving an e-gift card. Okay, and now what we wanted to do at our last Got Your Six, which was last year in person, we had Mr. Tyrone Chapman. He spoke in person. Mr. Tyrone Chapman has since passed away. He's passed away this year in February. He was Tyrone. Mr. Chapman was an awesome individual. You talk about a true staunch warrior for veterans. He was CEO of the MPF in Detroit. And a brief history of Mr. Chapman. He joined the U.S. Army at 17, completed basic boot camp training in 1970. 1971, Mr. Chapman deployed to Hanau, Germany for a one-year tour with the 516th Engineer Battalion. So he was deployed to Hanau and Germany. He served as a military advisor in Vietnam from 71 to 72 with the Military Assistance Command Vietnam team. Mr. Chapman was honorably discharged at the Army Personnel Center in Oakland, California, August 17, 1972. He had been awarded the Combat Infantryman Badge, National Defense Service Medal, Vietnam Service Medal, and the Vietnam Campaign Medal with 60s device. In later years, he was inducted to the Michigan Veterans and Military Hall of Honor. Fortunately, he passed away earlier this year, but his legacy will live on forever. Like I said, he's done awesome work in the community, and his legacy will continue to go forward in helping veterans recover and be housed. So thank you, Mr. Chapman. I know you're looking from on high and see what we're doing down here.
Okay, so now to commemorate loved ones in the military, we put together a tribute video featuring attendees of today's event, as well as family members of OCHN staff who have served or are continuing to serve in the military. thank you to everyone who submitted photos to be a part of this video.
Okay, that was awesome. So now at this time, we wanted to know, were there any additional questions from attendees before we conclude? Okay, I'll take that as a no.
All right. So again, please be reminded that vendor contact information and presenter contact information will be sent out following the event. On behalf of OCHN, especially Chaka and myself and Suzanne, who's been amazing with the chat, we would like to thank you for attending the 3rd annual Got Your Six event. We miss seeing everybody in person, but we are grateful that you all joined us here today. So with that, I will say have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you. You too. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.